Begin topic. Then I burnt my innocent baby picture. Slash. Then I learned Kutniti Shastra, the art of using the knowledge of manipulating human psychology for unjust gains. Begin quote. The child in me must die to make room for the mature woman to arrive. Dot, dot, dot. End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary, at this time, when I'm floating on the wave of overconfidence, thinking that nothing can go wrong now, not realizing that in my haste of winning the prestigious title of the next millionaire of the greatest nation in the country, America, I just jumped into hell's fire by bringing in the first willing woman as my roommate without any real checks whatsoever. Little did I know what a Pandora's box I just opened. My pure expectations see in her a mere disposable source of income per month, while her impure intentions take seed the moment she sees in me a regular person with no apparent immediate family support, with the strong bank balances needed for fighting costly eviction battles. And so she begins her dangerous war games. Armed with her superior knowledge of the law, which she had learned not for defending the weak or anything like that, but for manipulating the system so that it always works in her favor. In addition to her credit is the title of scholar in psychology that entitles her to use some of her tricks for getting away from not just not paying for the basic services that she's using, but also take as much as possible from the host share of the meal too. Now, what the current status is that she already knows the war has started, while I am just somewhat waking up, as I too catch her observing all my actions minutely, but still a fear of fights and unpleasant confrontations make me close my eyes like a pigeon does on seeing the enemy approach, a reaction which pleases the manipulator as it is completely in line with her intent of having me live in fear of the yet invisible enemy. Now that she has her confirmation that she's dealing with a person with the knowledge and trickery of a kindergarten kid, she starts all her psychology tricks on me. Having an upbringing in a family with strong moral values, with great emphasis on honest dealings, I start feeling very confused by her controlling, cruel, and vindictive mannerisms. Still noble in my dealings with everyone, I knew not of all the harmful effects daily battles over petty things can cause to a body. I kept ignoring all the subtle warning signals from my body for this negative person every time I would receive any of her frequent texts, not just at regular but odd hours right before my sleep time. Slowly, my behavior is changing in ways that I cannot even relate with my own reactions anymore. Every time the payment gets delayed or missed, I begin feeling anxious over the whole drama that will now follow just to get the share which is rightfully mine. By now, I'm feeling completely out of control of my actions. Now, my situation is comical to say the least, as despite owning a house, due to fear of the roommate starting a fight the moment I enter my house, my situation is like some homeless person for who the only secure place for sleeping is under the office toilet sink, while the roommate sleeps on my hypoallergenic queen bed. For some reason, I needed to enter in my own house to get something and then leave as quick as I can, but then that did not happen. She has caught me by her sharp eyes. She at once pounces on this opportunity and starts a yelling match on top of her lungs. Now I get furious too. And now I'm also yelling back at the top of my lungs. The whole neighborhood is now watching the show. To avoid further embarrassment in front of a peace loving community, I leave as fast as I can. Fear and trembling grips my core when I see the very person who I let in my house as a friend is now conniving behind my back of finding ways of occupying the whole house for herself and her blood relatives to live there for generations to come, while making the conditions for my survival in my own house so hard that now I am sleeping in my office toilet floor. Now that I'm an adult facing real life challenges, discover that sadly the backbone of our society is not ethics but materialism. Now, my aware eye can see how, in this age of materialism, all these divine properties like honesty, faith, character, and divine virtues are terms that best describe a dying breed of Purush in Sanskrit, gentleman in English, is facing extinction, while the terms of money and success are associated with people who have already sold their souls to the devil. So, in this upside down environment, what are my options for survival? As I begin asking the right questions and simultaneously reliving the nightmarish incident, it is serendipitously I hear my wit saying to me a saying which carried the seeds of answer to this problem. When a dog barks, barking back is absurd. So, the toolkit of trickery which they are using to destroy me, I too can learn it and then use the same methods back to destroy them instead. With this thought, I can now see myself smiling. Now, the first thing I do is to burn this baby picture of mine as a symbol of the death of innocence in me. And as a punishment for indiscriminately trusting everybody and thereby putting the adult in uncalled for trouble. Then I pick the book on Kutniti Shastra, the art of using the knowledge of manipulating psychology for unjust gains. End topic. Begin topic. An effective sword. Begin quote. What are negotiations and resolutions? Answer. The art of saying a lot without saying anything. ... End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary. At the first moment when I held that extra income rent money in my fist, I could then see the great potential in the seed, which, when blossoms, will yield returns that will help lift this curse of poverty, of having just enough that keeps me from rebelling against the tyranny in this system. Not realizing that all these high expectations of mine are busy in ganging up behind my back for jinxing me instead. Surely but steadily, the tear in the veil of diplomatic protocols begins to reveal alarming, thuggish misdemeanors, seeing which makes me bang my head against the wall, cursing that moment when I dug my grave myself by letting my greed overpower my thinking, thus making me welcome my own death myself. Now, my assessment cannot be dismissed as some blown up fear based problem when I say that, if not checked now, has the potential of bankrupting me to the last penny. This devil in disguise can take advantage of my simplicity, drug me with mind altering drugs, and then, instead of her paying her dues, I will not just be bearing the load of my sustenance, but hers too. It's in the inherent nature of a leech to suck blood off the very host in which it resides. So, it's not the fault of the leech when it attacks, but of the host who let it in the first place. With this thought, I first lower all my expectations to expect only the worst from this enemy camp. Why? Because when I set my expectations low, I set myself for success, as now they can be easily shattered. While on the other hand, when I set them high, I set myself for disappointment, as then you are also relying on goodness in a person, and that is foolishness, as most of us have already sold our souls to the devil. What is left is a decaying body which breathes just to slavishly fulfill its body's addictions, which money can buy. Which also means I must find a way to coexist with the devil. Now, how do I sleep peacefully in my room with the snake hissing in the other room? Since the fear of the whip from bad karma is virtually non existent in these thugs, these people are dangerous. This situation reminds me of the teachings of our 10th Guru of Khalsa, Sri Guru Govind Singh, who instructed us to always keep a sword with us for self protection. And so, in this also lies the answer to this problemata of how to live under the same roof with snakes in the other. The status of communal harmony with us at this point in time is that I suspect physical violence and harm can occur anytime. I inferred this from my observation of her face every time she's in my physical proximity and is parting from her dear money straight into my hands. All the strong streak of jealousy and hatred seems to be baked in the money that she's parting from. I will not be surprised if in some random fit of jealousy and hatred she picks her axe and then beheads me. The urgency for the need of a security guard both inside the house and outside my room is not an understatement. So, respecting and listening to my guru's advice, I decide on always having my form of sword next to me all the time. Carrying a sword by an amateur like me is substantial risk, not so much to the opponent, but myself, as what is meant for my protection also has the potential to attack me instead. So, this weapon that I have decided on is immune to these issues. And so, without any further delay, I reveal it to you, friend. My wireless cell phone. Having a cell phone is like a powerful weapon which can deter many violent crimes. If my thought is going towards involving police for solving inside home fights, is a sign that the situation is so volatile that one small mistake can blow up into an all out war anytime. Now I plan my every move and counter move now by first putting the thinking cap of the devil itself, reminding myself once again that the enemy's smile is like a poisonous vixen, waiting for the right time to snatch the prize of victory from right under the nose. Now I discover that battles are won not as much by swords, but by the power of the tongue. When you look at the enemy as an object of pity, means you are underestimating their intelligence. And when you're looking at them as an object of envy, means you are overestimating their intelligence. Still face silence is a proven method of being able to get rid of the negative person. While the negative person is wasting its energies in destroying you, you beat the stronger one. Stay busy in building your nest just the way you want. Being the smart one, all your efforts go towards creative activities, which will help cultivate the divine quality of self discipline. And where there is self discipline, there is victory. Recognize, be very aware that the negative person's favorite tool is sarcasm, which they use mercilessly on their victims so they can break their willpower, of which they are jealous of, because they themselves are sick, and this is their sick way of dealing with their own inferiority complexes. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. An earnest effort to resolve through a verbal duel before any bloodshed begins. Begin quote. I'm Hrim Klim Chamundai Viche. Vedic literature. Meaning of the mantra. Om, the symbolic sound of the cosmic being. Aing, the super kundalini death of conception. Hrim, the super kundalini death of life. Klim, the super kundalini death of destruction. Viche, victory. These three forces, referred to as Chamundai, when work in cooperation, can produce the violent force that can kill troubled times and fear. Dear Mayuri's diary, things are now so bad that I cannot ignore the fine tear appearing through the fabric of social protocols. My now awakening third eye has already been able to detect the true reason behind this roommate from hell's rebellious ways, especially at the time when she is parting ways with her true love, money. Which, what that really means is that under the surface an implicit war has already started. All these conflicts, which I thought were spontaneous, till I started realizing the true intent behind all this drama. These fights really were just another platitudinous, carefully planned move of this devil, designed to put fear in me so that I start obediently doing whatever she wills. This open injustice, if not addressed now, is sure to become so toxic that it has the potential to taking the whole body with it. Since rocking a boat with a person in it is not an everyday event and bears serious consequences, I'm agreeing with voice of goodness in me, and what most best business practices advice, I too decide on giving a duel of war of words a fair chance before any bloodshedding begins. Most people think that a war of words must not require as much extensive preparations and that it is safe from any bodily harm than sword fights. However, this view is true only for those illiterates who still are unaware of the effect of the energies that are governing our bodies, just as we ground electricity for protecting us from getting electrocuted. We too need some think similar. So then, how do I ground myself? First, I throw my heart somewhere deep in the attic, as there is no bigger enemy of the thinking brain than an emotional heart. Next, I self hypnotize my mind to be fair in my dealing, as I might be able to avoid the wrath of these man made courts, but never from the wrath of karma. I remind myself once again that no one is doing anyone any favors, knowing from experience and some earlier observations that whenever the stakes are high, the heart tries to take over the job of the mind. And since the heart does not have a mind, it is easy to see that the outcome of all these superhuman efforts are bound to fail. Once I have reminded myself of the need of my mind to perform at its best, as mind is that one tool in every person's hand which, when relaxed, has the potential of taking the one out of any hell's fire and then somersaulting my body straight into heaven's pleasure garden, while conversely, when it's tired, has the potential of becoming the cause of my destruction. So, now, how to relax the brain? I'm feeling fortunate, as this question just triggered a memory of this ancient age old secret trick which I had learned from the Vedic literature. Thank you, Mayuri, for listening to this voice of reason over the din of all the silly voices method. Lay down with eyes closed and just let a free fall of all thoughts run without any resistance for the next 20 minutes. Now, open your eyes, and now you are fresh to face the battle that lays ahead. Now, I am sitting here at the negotiation table face to face with the roommate from hell. My mind is now alert and is viewing every move as one in a chess game. As the opponent is laughing outside at you over his victory in killing your pawn, I am laughing on the inside on seeing how this fool just fell inside my trap, clearing my way straight to his king's jugular. My first instinct is to reform my opponent by my well intentioned advice, only to find that I'm just preaching to the choir. If they were not morally bankrupt, this stressful moment would never have happened in the first place. Once this awareness dawns on me, I rein in the horses of my tongue tight, leaving it all to the Almighty's wheel of justice karma to reform the guilty. Dot, dot, dot. End of topic. Begin topic. Get out. Begin quote. A foot forward with faith and then failing is not a betrayal of faith, but the lack of it. Carelessness, most of the times, is the culprit that we're looking for. End quote. Dear Chandi, the Smart Warrior Princess Diary. Every time that the Yama, the death executioner, cracks his whip over my faults, he gets a bad reaction out of me. However, when I see with my new vision now enriched with these new avatars that the devil transforms into, I bow down with gratitude to him, as now I just avoided a costly mistake of building the house over something that has a fault in its foundation itself. After all, if ever there were a vote on the one building principle that is a must have, then it would have to be a strong foundation. Squatters are like rotten food. You just vomit out the toxic food out of your system, as then only can your body give out its much needed sigh of relief. After all, is not the relationship between a service provider and a service consumer same as the one that exists between a snake and a snake charmer, where both the sides are infected by the same disease, greed? And when greed overpowers thinking, no side is willing to take even a cent of a loss. Thus, I conclude by taking a firm resolve of not letting any pity weaken my resolve, or for that matter, even let the false appearances of these leech like roommates furiously packing their bags fool me into giving them yet another chance. I will now rest only once I have complete legal possession of my land and take all the legal steps needed that will ensure that they stay so far that even their shadows cannot cast their darkness over the sanctity of my pristine abode anymore. Next, I feel glad on seeing the loud rebel Taurus bull in me, who always takes pride in having its way, is now sitting in a corner, cold and ashamed, with her tail between her legs, ashamed over its selfish nature, which has caused me major embarrassment among the most respected people from my close knit community. I now have more respect towards the rules and regulations of the community and understand their value better. I now realize even more my fault in introducing misfits into my friendly community, thereby disrespecting their security concerns. My selfish desires for more and more profits had made me look at the law enforcement as a big nuisance in individuals' growth plans. But now, after walking through hell's fire, I do not need a team of scientists to confirm the validity of this edification that people tend to walk the straight line better only when there is some kind of fear, such as long, costly legal battles versus just fear of the punishment that awaits them from the karmic laws of every action having an equal and opposite reaction. After going at war with a guru of Kutniti, the science of unfair gains, my own gains in psychology have now quadrupled due to a halving of my innocence component while simultaneously a doubling of the knowledge part about the techniques needed in spotting traitor Judas amongst the loyal followers of Jesus. Still, despite this complete theoretical gain and loss analysis sheet, I must caution you that there are much more safer options in gaining experience than jumping in the fire without any prior knowledge of the nature of the beast than you are about to tackle. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. Then I learned architecture. Dear Mayuri's diary, just when I thought this battle of possession of the golden key is now over, I quickly realized that by saying that to myself, I just jinxed myself, as in front of me lay a greater battle than before. Since, due to the strict privacy laws, I have never had to honor of inspecting these forbidden premises, but now that I do, the hidden value of these laws start revealing. They were acting like a shield for my mental nervous breakdown on seeing the extent of the extensive damage that had been done to my property. Now, my first instinct is to just take the loss, sell it, and then run as fast as I can to country Banana Republic. Next, what happened must be a clue into how the merciful of all functions when it comes to rewarding the deserving. I was trying to lift a heavy desk for moving. Now, my goal is to lift it slightly higher than the height of my sleek moving tool, so I can slip moving tool in through that foothold, and then it is all smooth sailing from there. As now, this tool is enabled to be able to do its magic. Now, I was able to lift it, but due to it being heavier than my arm strength, it could not be raised enough for me to sneak in the moving tool. Now, the heavy desk, which was supposed to fall back under these situations, ruining all my efforts, did not. Instead, the desk fell on a nail which was protruding out of the wall, thereby enabling me to finish my task successfully. Now I'm standing in wonderment, not for being able to do something which I thought I could never do, but because of an unknown feeling that an invisible force from the universe was also collaborating with me. With that knowledge, suddenly, from an ordinary girl, I became someone else, someone with more superior powers. Suddenly, impossible has now started looking as I am possible to me. Now, cleaning up for self, I have done several times now, but the rebel in me abhors the idea of cleaning up someone else's mess. So, for inspiring myself for that, I first trick myself into believing that the Super Kundalini will serve his justice by having the squatters mistakenly leave their bags with cash, which might help recover the money they swindled from me. This thought at once puts a spring in my feet as I leap out of my bed and clean up the whole place efficiently. Now, cash I did not find, but in the process got what I wanted: clean premises. I soon discover that it is not the curse of my wallet that I should have worried about, but from the ghost of the roommate, which is still haunting the place with silly mementos of memory of events now embedded in every particle in that place. Mayuri, I feel overwhelmed by the mountain of modifications which I will now have to make due to the unbelievable filth these cunning pigs were living in. Father Akash, if one is expecting to see a sparkling house and not a filthy pig pen after bringing in pigs, then it is not the fault of pigs, but with the expectation of the person blinded by greed who let them in the first place. Just change your expectation, then you will be not disappointed with the outcome. Mayuri, if I do not make these changes, I will be in the hospital, and with it, my investment in this house, all down in this now filthy toilet drains. My neighbors might feel threatened, thinking I'm trying to outdo their houses, while really for me, either pay for these upgrades or pay the doctors for having me just take my next breath. Now I know I have no choice but to hire a person who has good knowledge of building science, but still do not know how I will pay. Father Akash, I understand this is a particularly challenging time for you, but do not ever underestimate the strength of your own strong arms. Wherever there is a great learning opportunity, one should jump over it. If you do not know anything of a skill, then it becomes more important that you do not let this opportunity slip. I want you to start finding resources which will teach you all about building science. You need to think with a calm mind, as only a calm mind can make right decisions. You, being a daughter of a man who has proven his strength after surviving many challenging times, can tell you from my experience on how I deal with such situations which can unnerve anyone when I must conquer any mountain of problems. I first lay on my bed in a comfortable position. I close my eyes, then rest my eyeballs in the center of the eyebrows, which is the place where the pineal gland is found. You will be surprised to see how much focused and clear your mind is functioning now. I then clairvoyantly execute all the steps in my mind itself, and in this way, my plan becomes more fault proof as it has already been done once before. Mayuri smiling. Thank you, Father, for showing me the right path. And thank you, the Super Kundalini, for choosing Sri Akash Singh Birgi to be my father. Dot, dot, dot. I am now borrowing time from all the vocation related studies to meet my immediate goals. I start reading books, watching videos on building science. I never thought this time will end, but it did, and rewarded me with a handsome appreciation in my property's value. And I smile humbly every time when any of my neighbors also make their updates in same style as mine. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. Another platitudinous pledge. Live exclusively with my best companion, only myself. Begin quote. No way in hell. A marriage must be the serpent that ensures its bit victim gets completely incapacitated, never to recover again. By the time the victim realizes its mistake, it is already facing financial ruin, costly custody battles for children, not to mention all the pain that all the near and dear must have to go through. Not as much over the natural empathy embedded in the situation, but over their own impotence in not being able to do anything other than just be a witness to the beauty which lies in watching any platitudinous shipwreck. Dot, dot, dot. Chandi, the smart warrior car. End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary, the temptation of living a life just the way I want demands from me a sacrifice. A sacrifice of burning all my desires for a future that involves the pleasures of a blissful domestic life. After staying true to my word by staying single long enough, soon enough, I realized that all this sacrifice is a waste, as the first thought assumed that chains come from domesticity, while really they can come from the silliest things we buy, not realizing that all these little tchotchkes slash objects of our desire come with a cost of maintenance in the form of time. Now I realize that whether buying a big house brings you prestige in the society or not, it certainly turned out to be a big beast whose other name is home, which needs constant supervision and maintenance. So, news for all you quick to judge people that there is nothing to envy here, just pity. Dot dot dot. Come to think of it, who needs anybody anymore when dependencies on one another are virtually non existent? In this microwave generation, where one is certain that the next meal is coming, one is guaranteed that one will have a roof over one's head, there is little reason for anyone to risk breaking their chains of slavery, especially when their only options are devil or Satan. For some reason, I feel more comfortable in the company of women who have drifted away from their culture than these pretentious women who are taking part in some invisible, holier than thou competition of looking more domesticated than the other. So, if I cannot relate with this class of people in which I am destined to be, then what was the need for me to fly oceans away just to lead a life which does not take advantage of this opportunity? Why not fly? Who will be a greater fool than me for not taking any advantage of this excellent opportunity of being away from a strict family? And yet, even if I have all this freedom to do anything that I want, what good is it when the real pleasure comes from eating the fruits that are just forbidden in nature? Initially, there was a lot of excitement when meeting new people, only to find all people are the same everywhere. Boring, just despair everywhere. Life has become as meaningless and empty as it can be. If I try to find entertainment in marriage, it sounds even more scary, as I feel as if it was framed by some cunning sociopath who wrote a biased manual with only one side till the 3 days of honeymoon, and very conveniently forgot to add any exit clause for those unfavorable situations. Is marriage not just another form of market where bridegrooms are a mere commodity to bid with expensive gifts and valuable dowry from the bride's family, and the one whose bids outbid the other wins the hand of the bride, the inside beauty of the bride despite? The more the contrast in bride and the bridegroom, the higher the dowry. Then is not higher the dowry a form of disrespect to the bride? The word husband has lost all meaning in the traditional sense. Where are real men who would honor their sacred vows over the dead bodies? Now we have this new age, modern breed of men who conveniently marry in great haste, then divorce in an even greater haste. Even after getting married over 10 times, their complaint is the same. Dear friend, I could never find true love. In my profane eyes, a husband is like a dog without a collar, and yet to compare him with a dog is not an insult to a dog, but a husband, because the dog is at least a faithful and reliable, loyal friend, while a husband is not. A comparison sounds fair to me only when the word husband is compared with a pig, as a pig is only happy when he poops on himself and then rolls in his own poop. So now, you judgmental people, tell me if it is indeed my fault when I cannot respect this institution of marriage and look at a husband as just another feather on my cap, just to show off in party circles and nothing else? After extensive socializing with the locals, meeting people from different occupations, I ended up completely burning myself down to the levels of boredom. Finally, I am relieved when I took pity on myself when I realized that the source of entertainment lies inside, in exploring my own labyrinth, than any of other entertainment ever found outside. Now my goal is for a simple life where we are not doing things just to please another, but things that fit our lifestyle while respecting our bodily limitations. This must be a beautiful sample for a beautiful existence. So, with this edification, I put my hand over a burning candle to take my new pledge. I will live with my best companion, myself. But damn the evil eye, as the moment I said it, little did I know I just jinxed myself, as this pledge was not just heard by me, but also our dear Lady Destiny, who immediately got busy in making a joke out of my firm resolve. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. Paralyzing snake bite. Desiring a mirage. / 2010, when I shed my old skin of a free bird to transform into my new skin of a dutiful wife, Mayuri. Begin quote. When we are happy, we cry. When we are sad, Then also we cry. Then it is not fair to say that the summary in one word for every life is a teardrop. End quote. Mast-mayuri, the intoxicated peafowl dancing in the rain. Begin. Subtopic. First, the husband does not give a damn. Husband Chanakya to his wife Mayuri. When we try to mix oil with water, we cannot, as it is against its inherent nature. Both of this material have proven benefits, but when cooking, if someone were to put water over heated oil for mixing it, it will not do what we intended it to do, but could prove harmful as it splashes instead, causing harmful skin burns to the one standing nearby. Such is my bond with my wife too. Our natures cannot mix, and yet we must meet our marriage goals. Whenever I enter our bedroom, she enters under the blanket, pretending that she's sleeping. Even if I were to have scorpions crawl over her and bite her, she will still lie like a cold fish, does not say anything. The only sign of life in her is the faint voices of deep sighs. So, to save this marriage from a complete shipwreck, we meet only for our procreation needs. Frankly, my darling, I don't give a damn. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. Then the wife faints. Begin quote. Lays senseless like some 18-wheeler of justice ran over her. End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary. The moment I hear his footsteps coming towards my bedroom, I can't feel a surge of fear and anxiety. Hormones flood through my entire body. No, it is not the thought of having to wrestle with a 200-pound ogre, but because of one more of the many favors that his mother has done for him. She has such an excellent job in making him believe that he is a Hercules avatar, that now that suggestion has gotten hammered in so deep that he now actually believes it to be true. This delusion has become the source of difficulty for me, as he's no Greek god from any angle whatsoever. And even if he is all that, the problem still remains, is I'm no Greek goddess. Whenever he knocks my door, his expectation is like some Pavlov's dogs. I will start salivating just by looking at him, while it is the exact opposite, which is the truth. My bodily fluids dry up, as if my body is in a state of rebellion and dread over the thought of subjecting myself to another session of spiritual rape. This is how the session goes. The more he tries to come near, the more I go further away. Seeing my coldness towards him, he takes it as an insult to him. When I sense the disgruntlement in him, I go even more in the state of dread and despair. This cycle keeps repeating itself all through this long and unending nightmare session. Thank you, Mother Nature, for reducing the window for this act to 2 minutes for those 2 right days only. As the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once rightly said, pleasure disappoints, possibility never. And agreeing him, I say that forget pleasure disappointing, as there was never even a possibility of pleasure there in the first place. When we look at honeybees, they have separate bees for the purpose of gathering honey, while for the purpose of procreation needs, they have a separate bee. Now it is all making sense to me. I am really the worker bee who works all day to meet the financial needs of the house. Problem here is that for procreation needs too, it is me, like some labor shortage. So really, I'm working double shift all day in the office and at night with my husband. No wonder that I am neither able to be a good worker nor a good wife. Frankly, my darling, I don't give a damn either. End topic. Begin topic. Haunting bad dreams. Restless serpents of thoughts keep rising from some unknown source, haunting Mayuri's dreams. After waking from one of her recent bad dreams, she goes to work. She's opening her file to read, but can read nothing. How can she, when her eyes are busy watching a rerun of the last night's horrible dream clairvoyantly? She is experiencing it vividly, seeing once more an army of fat black mice entering her house that started running uncontrolled, ready to take over the whole house, seeing which her whole body is trembling. Leaving everything, she lunges to get her phone to make an urgent call to the management. Once on the phone, her voice falters. Fumbling for words, she's telling them to fix this problem right away, no matter what the cost. It is either these mice or me who will live in this house. They sense her desperation, but there's nothing that they can say to drive away all her fears. Then, in a very grim voice, they say, "We know your ability of throwing infinite money to fix this problem, but we cannot even take your case if the situation is out of control." With this nightmarish words, she comes out of her trance, composed, however, only from the outside, as the inside is a whole different story. More despair. End topic. Begin topic. Peekaboo in the time warp. Unlike the wise man who, on hearing the lead boot footsteps of the enemy at his doorstep, froze out of fear, a child, on the other hand, stays blissful. After all, there is no enemy strong enough to defeat his clever karate chops. Mast-mayuri. End quote. With every repeated failed attempt at meeting her duty as a wife, Mayuri is now inside secretly to people, and herself is sinking increasingly into the vice-like grip of an unknown fear, dragging her down increasingly with every passing day into dreadful despair. From the seed of desperation sprouts a quest for oracles, priests, who can take a small peek in the crystal ball so that she can finally get her laugh back when she gets to see just how silly and imaginary her assumptions can get. How much she just made a mountain of a molehill. After knowing about the large amount of fraud cases in this breed of fortune tellers, Mother Aditi is strongly against going for such a choice. Mother Aditi, be patient, especially when we do not know if everything is predestined or we are making our future every step of this way. From my knowledge of the Ved Shastra literature, this human form is precious, as we do not just respond chemically to situations like plants do and many other animals, but by the powers of discretion too. As we have an ethical part of us, we are fully responsible and accountable for our every action. Mayuri felt silent. She very well understands the meaning behind the words, and yet it is only a matter of time before the suffocating anxiety and restlessness will win. And so, before we know, she has succumbed to the temptation. Disregarding all her mother's pearls of wisdom, she lunges forward to get her phone, to get for herself the first available appointment with the forecast telling priest for having a harmless peekaboo into the future's cauldron. End topic. Begin topic. The priest, a forecast straight from hell. Face to face. Begin subtopic. Face to face. Begin quote. An eternal truth is that the opposite of reality is also a reality. End quote. Mayuri is sitting in the waiting room of the priest who, like God, holds the key to getting all her desires fulfilled. Tall order indeed. Expectations are high. Her toes are constantly moving up and down in her tiny shoes, revealing her unrest. Hopefully, it is still a secret from the quick to judge public. Her clenched, sweaty palms are telling the story of anxiety that must be running through her body. A plain-clothed woman is noticing her closely, but Mayuri is not noticing anything, as she is too engrossed in coming up for solutions to get out of this mess that she is in. The stranger approaches her with a tissue box. Addressing in a courteous manner, she makes her chuckle with her wit by offering her a tissue which was in urgent need of the time, as if the drop from the runny nose that was hanging at the tip of her nose, if not stopped in time, was sure to ruin her dress. Mayuri acknowledges it, as she had not been able to do an excellent job at hiding her silent sobbing. At first, Mayuri is in no mood of engaging any long drawn conversations with a stranger, but then, fearing that she might be hurting a good natured elderly woman's feelings, and indeed her runny nose could use some help, she smiles and accepts her help. Then, to arouse the feeling of pity on herself, and with the intention of making Mayuri feel superior to herself, so that Mayuri begins to show more information about her private life. To start an open dialogue, she starts to talk about her own personal life, so that Mayuri also reciprocates in kind, thereby falling straight into the stranger's trap. The stranger begins by introducing herself as a single woman who goes by the name of Diana, who had never given birth herself, but still had aided many women in giving birth. Diana, the Super Kundalini should bless the most deserving couples with the most babies, but what we see around us is that most of these intellectuals barely have any, while the rascals and witches of the world, who are too selfish to even take care of themselves, have more than a handful. This scale of nature's justice does not hang properly, and yet why do all teachers tell us to believe that the actions of nature are just? In one scenario, triplets are born to unwed mothers who try to find ways to get rid of their babies by using the most cruel and spiteful ways, while on the other hand, desiring couples who, even after going through advanced medical science procedures,
still get nothing. Once Diana's words hit the right spot, in no time they are talking like old friends. Mayuri divulges all about her fertility problems along with some other intimate details to her new friend. Once the new friend has all the information she needed, she did not stay even a moment longer. As she is briskly picking up her belongings to leave, she uses the same time to say her speedy goodbyes. Since time is precious, oh my precious, one should not waste time in jibber jabber, and since I have already wasted over 15 minutes of our time, I got to run. The very next moment she has already vanished. Noticing her magical vanishing trick, Mayuri could not help but make a comment on her strange behavior. People are strange. Just a moment ago, she was like the loving mother from heaven that one often finds in most tearjerker dramas. In the next moment, she's like the stepmother from hell that we often find in most horror dramas. Regardless, after talking to the stranger, Mayuri feels incredibly pleased with herself, sees it as a good omen to talk to an elderly woman who appeared just for her, like some proxy mother. Little did Mayuri know about the invisible spider on the wall who was seeing her very closely. The priest, who is getting a live feed to the whole conversation straight to his monitor screen. End subtopic. Begin subtopic. The trance meditation session. With high expectations, Mayuri enters the priest's semi dark room, lit only with an earthen lamp. When she sees his silhouette in front of her, she feels as if she's like a little child in presence of her father who will protect her from the upcoming storm, strong enough to create a havoc in her just started marital life. Nervous to not offend him in any way, she first bows to him and then stands there waiting for his next instruction, obediently and with full faith and devotion. He enjoys her nervousness, which makes him feel more confident in his power, not in giving her what she needs, but in his convincing powers, as if first training her to obey his every command. He begins his practice session by first instructing her to sit on the mat across him, just like a protective father instructing his little girl. He himself is sitting on it in a sukhasana, cross legged on a firm seat, covered with fake deer skin. His waist, spine, chest, neck, and head are in one line. He starts a small fire in a small earthen lamp that is situated at the eye level in front of him. Looking steadily in the eye of the fire, he starts chanting mantras which sounded enchanting enough. She did not know the meaning of them. Hearing them, she wanted to just leave everything and become his follower. But once the chanting stopped, all the worries surrounding her came back to life. Now that the chanted has stopped, her mouth opens to tell her all the answers to her concerns and woes, but that did not happen. He interrupts her mid sentence and instructs her to only speak when asked to. Being desperate, she even manages to conduct this challenging task of not saying anything when one is screaming inside. He begins, I am a Trikaldarshi, the one whose vision spans across the time matrix. You do not need to tell me anything because I already know the reason that brings you here. Priest, truth is bitter. Do you still want to hear it? She almost forgets to breathe. Mayuri, just hit me with the truth. Nothing could be worse than the anxiety of uncertainty which has me in a vice like grip. Priest, I see that your great name will be all over the media. Without going further on that aspect, let us bring our focus to the cause and remedy of your despair. There is no way to sugarcoat this one, so I tell it as painlessly as possible. I do not see you delivering any child from your own womb. Dot, dot, dot. Saying that, he comes out of his trance like state. Mayuri's heart skips a beat. Her worst fears had come true. She puts her hands to her ears, exclaiming in dismay, Mayuri, they say that ears go deaf for self protection in an event of danger. Then why is it that my eardrums did not burst now? These words, which just like spears, pierce right through my heart. What a blow under the belt from destiny! Whatever I fear, I take that some evil spirit cast a spell on me, and then that very outcome takes its ugly shape in real. With trembling hands, she wipes her tears and gets up to leave when she hears the commanding voice of the priest again. He asks her to keep sitting. After all, her job has just started as far as he's concerned. Do you want a baby or not? Yes. Then I will give you a baby. But I never asked you for one. Quit arguing. You know what your problem is? Um, um, I don't know. Your problem, woman, is that you talk too much. Golly, woman, when I say I will, damn will I will. For that to happen, I will need you to do everything exactly as I ask you to do. Since I does not have the expertise needed for chanting specific mantras and performing certain rites, I will have to direct you to the ones who have expertise in your concern. Those specialists can help you in making your desire a reality. But as these resorts are heavy on the wallet, I suggest you take another added loan just for paying this new expense. I even offer easy financing with the zero down, zero interest, but I can do this favor only for this first year. On listening to this heavy expense that way overshot the budget of her medical expenses, she begins to take out her cell phone from her bag to consult her husband before making such a huge financial commitment. When the priest ceases with one bold and sudden movement, he snatches the phone from her hand. From that moment forward, the husband who makes her financial decisions for her is him, priest. You look very educated and wise, but actions are still like a child. Do not you know his answer? Men do not think from their hearts like women do. Most men do not even believe in the super kundalini. He will only laugh at you, call you superstitious and unscientific. Do not ask him, ask me. Mayuri, but you are also a man, she says doubtfully. He interrupts her thought at once and takes over again. Priest commandingly. I am a man, and that is why I know how we men think. So you argue way too much, woman. Golly, do you want a child or you are wasting my precious time? Drowning. What will she do? Therefore, no surprise there when she signs the contract on this spot. Once out of the door, she is running headlong towards the exit. Her countenance is pale, eyes bloodshot, body hair erect, winds howling angrily around her, scattering her locks, helping in hiding her face from the world. This is when the sky tore apart, pouring acid rain on her body, exposing her shame and disgrace. With the voice of the priest echoing in her mind, she knew not how to brace the impending doom, so she gets in her car and drives to the forest to hide herself there, away from civilization, away from all her fears, alone with the one best companion who will never deceive her, her solitude. Dot, dot, dot. End topic.
Begin topic. A conspiracy theory. Baby making shops. Begin quote. If the horse befriends the grass, what will the horse eat then? A victim of some secret population control agenda. End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary, tormented by the knowledge of dark times ahead, the only options that I can see is that either I surrender to my fate, letting the poison of a meaningless marriage poison consume me, leaving me in a state which is neither dead nor alive, or else I fight like a true Taurus woman. Do everything in my power to prevent this rolling ball of fire coming down at me with a furious pace. But when I see my enemy is no huge one-eyed monster, but a frightening nothing, I went silent, like a child in its ignorance is blissful, imagining no enemy is strong enough to defeat their clever karate chops. I too, like a child, am trying different things to tackle these evil forces out to dethrone my little kingdom. Still, not knowing what the showstopper really is, I waste no time in not just finding the best of fertility clinics, but quacks too. Now I'm on a mission. Will rest only after I have fulfilled my desire. I am now officially the favorite of all fertility clinics, quacks, as I would give them any money they wanted. My closets are already overflowing with fertility products. I am so overwhelmed with information from this multi-billion fertility industry that whatever the testimonials say, I latch onto their every word as gospel and ensure that I have their product too. I have now begun to enjoy the pain which comes from sticking needles all over my body as part of one of the many therapies. At least there is, as if this is the only way to my goal, then literally enjoying lying on my bed of needles. After all, with my level of anxiety, everything is fair game. Miracle diets, even enemas, which created severe gas in me, which nearly killed me. In short, I'm like a mad woman for who nothing is too crazy to try. After all these exhausting exercises, you would think I succeeded. But what does really happen? Dear Aunt Flo visits again. After all these failures, I have now begun thinking out of the box. Who is the culprit? Who else than these doctors themselves? Simple logic If a horse befriends the grass, then what will the horse eat? They can fool these overage grandmas, but not me. I am smart enough to see this big gap between what they claim and what their real intent is. So, from now on, I will become my own doctor. I will change the doses in proportions that I feel will work. Or, come to think of it, is this thought an intentional sabotage of the spirit of freedom in me? Plotting against my married life goals? As getting chained even more by the strong ties of blood and cries of one's own infant will make it impossible for me to see the glaciers in Alaska. ... End topic. Begin topic. Another platitudinous victim of pollution from indiscriminate industrialization. Begin quote. Does my toxic womb do what I do not have the courage to do myself? Kills my babies even before they can open their eyes, thus saving them from coming to this planet Earth, which has already stolen centuries worth of resources from the future generations. End quote. Dear Mayuri's diary, how quick are these doctors in writing a prescription without even finding the root cause? They know, but I know not why they like keeping me in the dark. Damn these doctors. How can they prescribe me the right medication without even knowing why my body reacts the way it does? Since the disease in me, if I think hard enough, I can also find the hidden cause behind my sickness. Since present is dependent on the seeds of we sow in the past, it only makes sense to look in the past to find that serpent sitting in my womb, which is devouring all my babies who could only experience the darkness of my womb, never a single ray of light. ... There is a strong possibility I became a victim of the toxic fumes coming from the monstrous sugar factory that was few miles from the college. I can vividly recall how every time the factory would start its production, the fires from its pit would push toxic smog fumes, engulfing the whole village with a dirty, acrid haze that would slash visibility, and the hazardous pollutant levels were disastrous for people with weak lungs like mine. The last time when I went to a doctor to get my lungs evaluated, his report did confirm my worst suspicion that my lungs are like of a person who must have been smoking over 70 tobacco cigarettes a day. This is after me not even touching any tobacco cigarette. So the culprit is all the polluted air around me. The biggest loss of my living away from my mother during the college days must be not getting good home cooked food made by the nourishing hands of my mother. Yes, now that my beautiful mind has helped me discover the problem, I do not need to waste any time on chasing priests, on even begging the super kundalini to fulfill my desires. Even if my husband does not see in me any qualities of a good mother, I will now prove him wrong. Subhasham Shigaram. Now, my dear magician husband, just play your magic flute and make my milkers full of milk. And flow comes again. ... End topic. Begin topic. Wretched and flow. Wretched and flow. In vain you flood my panties with your never-ending rivers of my blood. You always mark the start of my cycle with hope, which always ends with despair. You always visit me at the same time, always bring the same results with you, and item per item. How about you surprise me the next time by not showing up? Show up only when you have delivered all your broken promises. All these 3 days, the emotions in me reach insane levels, like the tides in the ocean on a stormy night, jumping high to finally fulfill their desire of kissing the moon. One would expect that after failing many times, they would tire and give up. Wrong. They are insane. As now their efforts raise exponentially to satiate their insatiable urges. Such is the pent-up energy in me at this time. My feet cannot resist from putting on my ghungaroo. Start note. A wrap-around belt with small bells tied around the ankles, generally worn by the classical dancers in India. End note. To dance to the Indian classical dance form Shiv Tandav, which washes away all my stress with my tears, betraying all the mixed emotions of helplessness and anger deep inside me to the outside. ... End topic. Begin topic. Entangled telepathic signals. Begin quote. Is an ideal family not like the pair of one's eyes? They never see each other, and yet they must see each other. As how else do we explain the magnificence that lies in the product, which can only come when all separate entities sacrifice their individual goals to combine as an autonomous unit that is in sync with each other, uniting to ensure the success of meeting the common goal of a beautiful future. ... Mast-mayuri. The intoxicated peafowl dancing in the rain. Dear Mayuri's diary, what just happened? Before I even begin my day with all these necessary time consuming tasks that are a must for the smooth running of this high maintenance lifestyle of today, failing which has the potential of causing severe headaches for me down the line. And yet, I don't do any of them. Instead, pick up my diary to keep a record of this feeling of mine before the mundane takes over and erases everything that is inside feeling is trying to convey me. Right after I wake up from a dream with this start, I'm now wondering if this word that I just heard is not just a word, but the word, or in other words, a message, or in other words, a discovery of a link between other dimensions slash some other parallel universe. This word that was uttered was from my father. Help. Now, my father rarely calls me on weekdays as he's cognizant of the time pressures of a working woman, and having been a working man himself, is well aware of the high workloads on Mondays due to no work done on the previous day. And so, when I see his name on the phone's caller ID, I'm now doubly confused by the coincidence. I pick up the phone quickly, curious to know the reason behind his phone call, and when he told me that the reason for his call was to check up on me to see if I needed any help, I fall. My tongue fumbles for words. I stand there, too taken aback to respond from this too much of a coincidence, wondering how her dear father, even if sitting oceans away, already knows that her well kept secret of being in a situation which now needs an intervention from her loved ones. Knowing that the reason behind her keeping her secret a secret persists, I say nothing. Even if my father learns about my despair and wants to help, he cannot. Instead, the awareness of my pitiable condition will become the cause of his despair instead. With this thought, I act nonchalant and give him false comfort by promising him to come back soon to see him and the whole family as soon as I'm done tying some loose ends. ... End topic. Begin topic. Tears of blood. Dear Mayuri's diary, anytime an invitation for a birthday party of any child of their close friends comes, it instantly triggers my anxiety to jump through the roof, as if it were some invitation for my own funeral. Like That one time when I ran out of excuses and so had to go. Worst mistake. There is an arrogant mother of three sprawled wide on the sofa. Who better to flaunt her superiority than the only barren woman in the pack? Thereafter, I know not what evil spirit has her that one after another she is directing all her cruel, sarcastic remarks at me. Now, a good sarcastic remark is often hard to say. Most often than not, it comes out as cruel, which amuses the author and his likes only. I wanted to punch her face, but my fingers trembled, and for some unknown reason to me, could not even make a fist. Then I tried to compromise with the situation with a more important than myself justification. Her lifestyle is a direct contrast of mine. So, for her to appreciate mine is either hypocrisy or a disdain for her own life. And if she does not out of hypocrisy, then she is a jealous woman. And where there is jealousy, there is hatred. And where there is hatred, there is no beauty. Meaning that person is ugly. She is ugly. Now, with this revelation, I can say jealous people's view is a hidden perspective of themselves than others. Then I smile, but the very next moment I'm repenting. Shame on me. All this while I have been cursing people for not being empathetic to my situation, but really the fault is not in them, but in my impotence in delivering my promises. Now, I remember that fertility book did mention that woman who did a fast for 30 days got pregnant right after. Nothing can stop me now. Not even God. I will start right away. Dot, dot, dot. End topic. Begin topic. Interface / essentialism for erotic love. Dear Mayuri's diary, the cause of my despair is not just the knowledge of the sickness that is consuming my soul, but is over my impotence, my inability in making a choice that will enable me to move forward out of this current either or / dharam sankat in Sanskrit, which I am currently facing. I hear the screams from my heart begging me to break away from this relationship, which must be a disgrace to this institution of marriage, whose foundation, which should be love, but instead is mere slavery and desperation to achieve my high expectation desires. Now, my aware eyes can also see I'm in a boat which is bound to collapse.
Still, I'm unable to make that leap to that shore simply because I'm too far. Dot, dot, dot. End topic.